So yes, that Pokemon list is ready. It's ready to go. I finally broke it down. But I figured let's take a break from Pokemon just for a second and talk about the MCU. Specifically, let's talk about the Fantastic Four in the MCU. Shall we? Now, I've been asked this a couple of times, how I see the Fantastic Four in the grand scheme of the MCU. And I'm going to be honest with you, now that Captain America is stepping out, I think this is the time to bring the Fantastic Four in. And I also think that they should be brought in by Guardians of the Galaxy. Here's why. Here's what I think should be going on. I think that we should start showing them as a family in the atomic age, or rather the space race. Make them part of the space race and have Reed be working on a new project, a rocket that puts to shame all other rockets that were going up at the time. A grand technology that would literally change the face of the world if his theories proved true. Now, they take this rocket up, and something doesn't quite go right. The technology works, but it's unstable when it gets belted by some sort of an anomaly in space. When they get up there, have them run into something. Some sort of cosmic energy, okay? It doesn't have to be too ridiculous, just enough to get what we need to happen. Something happens with the drive, and they into some sort of light speed or whatever, right? Now, what this does is it circles them around the Earth, moving faster than light. And then I would have them be deposited, basically come back into existence, almost as if they went through a wormhole or such, and then they come out in the present day, and they crash. Boom! Now, when they crash, that is when I would have them appear on radars and such like that, and then, of course, the government can go and they can find them, and they can be confused as to what's going on, because this rocket was certainly not launched yesterday. That's what we're going to say. They will be able to track the numbers and everything like that and find out pretty quick that this was the rocket that Reed and his family went up in years ago. Now, at this point, we have a group of individuals who we can play some very interesting things with. One, the Baxter Building. It can be a business that through sheer luck, a couple of investments that were put aside before they left actually paid off greatly. And through some set of circumstances, Reed is able to actually claim these assets along with his wife, and now they're rich. Reed, not exactly being the greatest, he got lucky, okay? He's not the greatest financial consultant in the world. He immediately buys the Baxter Building and comes to find out it needs a lot of upkeep. They've done nothing with it since the Fantastic Four disappeared. And they weren't superheroes before, but since his family disappeared, they haven't touched the Baxter Building. So it's in disrepair. He ends up spending basically the entire fortune he just got directly into it and putting it back together, basically. So now this puts him immediately in a position where they have money, but it's running out quickly. So they can't go crazy. They're not Tony Stark rich. They were rich enough to get the foundation in place. This allows him to build a couple of inventions and get a couple projects in motion before they start running into financial troubles and storylines and things like that. So they're not rich. They just had enough money through a lucky investment to get the Baxter Building and get that stuff put together. Now, of course, when they crash landed, they already have powers. So the Thing is already who he is and all this stuff, and part of buying the Baxter building was he has equipment there, and he believes that that equipment is going to help him figure out what happened, because a lot of his technical blueprints and whatnot for the rocket in general, and he thinks it's the rocket that did this at first. Something about his engine design that may have somehow caused something. He doesn't realize that they were belted by a phenomenon or something of that nature that caused this problem. So he'll figure that out as he goes and he buys all this stuff, and he goes back and he starts looking into it, and he can't fix what was done to them. And of course, yada yada, then we play the story out and we have 4 fish out of water characters. This is the way I would do this. That way you don't have to change the way they talk. You don't have to change their dialogue. Their fashion can even be a little off, where they actually think that the blue bodysuits and whatnot are like cool. They're like futuristic and neat. And you don't have to play too hard with these concepts, because this would be part of who they are as a people from that time. They would think the blue suits work, even if the rest of the Marvel team and whatnot kind of looks at them like kind of goofy with the jumpsuits, the blue jumpsuits, and things like that. You can get away with certain things, and Sue can wear her hair, at least for the first movie, in like an old 60s style or something like that, which would be neat because it would play to the original design of said characters. And you can even do things like Reed can look certain ways, or smoke a pipe, or just little things that put them out of time. And Ben can be a harder army guy, astronaut from the time or something like that makes sense to the way his dialogue would play out. And you can have Johnny be super interested before he ever went up there in things like hot rods and things of that nature. And now when he comes back, there's all this new stuff that's even further beyond what he's seen when he left. So that makes him even more of a hothead, because he's also playing catch up, which means he has something to prove. And it can make him more of a showboat kind of guy to see where he was so cool and now he's not as cool, and that makes him try even harder to be cool. So he wants the acknowledgement and everything that he had before he left, where he was the cool guy. He was the guy that had the motorcycle, he had the wheels, he had the girls, and now his fashion statement is kind of messed up and everything. He doesn't really fit in this time, and the things that are cool are not something that he necessarily understands, but he wants to. So have him get into things like Twitter, have him get into things like Instagram, and things of that nature. And he can accidentally make them famous by playing around with things like Twitter and whatnot, where he can show off his flame powers and things like that. And then people start talking about these new heroes, where all he's doing is trying to get attention. He accidentally makes them famous overnight. So I think that this is the way to do it. I think that this family should be out of time. Now, I don't have too much to say here, but I was asked, so I decided I would come in here and I would go ahead and say something about where I see them and how I see this working. And I haven't exactly planned it all out. Maybe I'll do another one later on where I really have the entire storyline locked down. But this is the basics of how I see this and how I feel it would work. So anyways, small topic, just something to kind of set us and keep you realizing that, yes, this is still a fandom channel. Yes, it's still random. Yes, we're still talking all kinds of fandom. And I got my new notebook with all kinds of new stuff written in it and everything, and a bunch of my old ideas and whatnot transferred. And I have the 26 Pokemon list ready. It's ready. It's going to be a countdown, a huge countdown from 26 to 1. And that video is coming up, but I wanted to come in here and I wanted to drop just a different fandom topic off the normal that we've been running. So that was it. That was what I got. I'm going to get out of here later on.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.